All righty, we are all set to go. So I hereby declare that we have a quorum. A copy of the agenda was posted and can be found on the Town of Monroe's website, www.monroect.org. Now I'm going to read from the script, the official script that needs to be read at all recorded meetings. This is a public meeting conducted remotely in compliance with Section 1 of General Lamont's Executive Order Number 7B, dated March 14th, 2020, using GoToMeeting electronic conferencing technology. Using this technology, the public shall participate in real time in this meeting via computer, tablet, smartphone, or telephone, using the access information set forth on the meeting agenda. Please be advised that each meeting has unique participation information, so please be sure that you have accessed the correct meeting. Notice is hereby given that only 250 participants may access this remote electronic public meeting at any one time. Access to this meeting using the technology is granted solely by the technology provider on first access basis and is not controlled by the Town of Monroe. While it is anticipated that we will not exceed this participant limit for this meeting, should it appear that we are approaching said limit, so that any member of the public is denied access to the meeting, I, as chairman, reserve the right to adjourn and continue the meeting at a later date using technology appropriate to ensure all members of the public may participate. Please take notice of the following regarding the remote electronic public meeting. This meeting is being conducted in real time. This meeting is open to the public. Any member of the public may listen to or view this meeting anonymously. This meeting is being recorded. And while we ask that you mute your microphones unless recognized to speak, that anything you say, do, or is displayed on your screen may become part of the recording. That the recording shall be posted to the town's website within 7 days. That the recording shall be made available to the public within a reasonable time in the town hall or upon written request. This meeting shall follow standard parliamentary procedure. However, I ask all participants to follow these special rules in addition. Please mute your microphone so as to reduce background noise at any time you are not speaking. Prior to speaking on each occasion, each speaker shall clearly state their name and title for the record. The use of the chat feature is prohibited and will not be considered during the meeting if in use. As set forth in the agenda, this meeting will feature public participation, but I have not received written comments from the public between the date of the agenda was posted through 1 hour before the start of this meeting. Therefore, we are now going to move right along with the agenda. And the third item on the agenda is public participation. If there's anyone from the public who would like to speak, please announce yourself, name and address. It does not appear that we have anyone from the public present, so we will move on to item number 4. Under announcements and correspondence, we received and we will the Planning and Zoning Commission ART on 390 Monroe Turnpike. We also just today received 2 emails from Dave Solik. One was a set of pictures on trees that he has proposed to be planted at Stepney Green, and another entitled Roadside Trees and Tall Shrubs with Short Mature Heights. Have any of you received any other correspondence?
This is Barbara. I have not.
Okay. Okay. If no one
Ryan,
has, no. And Samantha, any additional correspondence?
Nope.
Okay, we'll move right along to the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the March 11, 2021 regular meeting?
This is Barbara. I make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Is there a second?
it's Ryan. I'll second it.
Okay, are there any comments, additions, or corrections? Then we will go to a roll call. This is to vote on the approval of the minutes of the March 11th, 2021 meeting. Barbara Thomas.
I approve.
Ryan Driscoll.
Approve. Sorry, I was having trouble with my mute button there.
That's okay. Samantha Spino.
I approve.
Karen Bernaska, it's 4-0. Now we'll move right along. The first item under number 6, the number 6 updates are for board and commission reports. Is there anything on the town council? Any update from on the Board of Finance?
Town council. I don't. My mute button just driving me crazy.
That's okay. No town council, no Board of Finance, P and Z. Okay, and just as a comment, the Planning and Zoning Commission is meeting tonight. In fact, they start at 7, and they're having a hybrid meeting, meaning that the commissioners will be in person at the town hall and the council chambers, and but any applicants and the public will be remote. And if I'm not mistaken, Samantha, you said you might be interested in checking on that board?
Yep, that's right.
Sounds wonderful. And also you'd be the other board that really interested you is EDC.
Yes.
That is wonderful.
Can I chime in for a second? It's Kat.
Yes.
EDC is meeting tonight too.
Oh.
So we have quite a few meetings going on tonight. So everything is posted on the website. If anyone wants to join any of those start, I believe Planning and Zoning is 7,
Yes.
and EDC is either 7 or 7:30.
Well, you know,
And
Kat,
I did fix my echo.
I was going to say you have no echo, and that's
Yeah.
boy,
I figured it out. I don't know why. You know what? Town council has fried my brain, so I forgot what I had to do on my laptop. So sorry about that before, but all right, I'm gonna mute myself.
Okay. Well, thank you. Now you know from Kat, and boy, Samantha, this could be a long night for you.
And that's what I was noticing on there. I was like, why is everything, and some overlap, like they're like at the same time.
Well, can I tell you what it was? You set your meeting dates a year in advance, and we will consider them again. But they are P&Z meets 3 Thursdays a month, normally not on the same Thursday that we meet. We meet on the one Thursday, and we have been meeting concurrently with EDC for quite a while. But as Kat said, we're at 6:30, and I think they may be they're after us, so it's not exactly the same time. But I think we'll talk about that later on in the year when we decide to set our meeting schedule for next year. So busy night. And inland wetlands. They meet, I think I don't know if I sent around the,
Dave Zolik called, he's having problems with the computer. He said he'll try to catch up to you later.
okay, thank you. Yeah, see, that's what happens when you're on. That's my husband coming in and he's trying to Zoom bomb our meeting. He has just knocked on the door, come in and said, Dave Zolik is having trouble with his computer. So he will catch up with us later.
He can always call in if he wants.
Okay, well, okay. Well,
I don't have his information. I would text him if I had it, but I don't.
okay. Well, maybe when I can send him an email after we get, when we get on to a few other items.
Okay.
So inland wetland, they are meeting next Wednesday, and I believe I sent around the agenda. And so they also of interest to us on next Wednesday's Inland Wetland Commission meeting is 64 Cambridge Drive, and I believe they're going to hear from the applicant on some sort of piping system to begin rehydrating the wetlands. So of interest. So we will move. I will try to email Dave Zolik if you would like to. Barbara, talk about the POCD review committee.
Actually, nothing new, although the draft POCD is on the Monroe, the town website, but we've not gotten anything that says, I know there's some public participation, public input meeting that should be coming up at some point in April, and I haven't gotten anything new about that, so I don't know when that will be or how they're going to hold it.
My understanding, and if Kat wants to barge in on this, my understanding is it's going to be Wednesday, April 28th at 7 p.m.
Oh, okay.
Kat, do you happen to know if that's correct?
That's correct.
So please, we'll talk about it a little bit more.
And that's virtual, as far as you know, or?
Yes,
Okay.
Kat,
Correct.
isn't it? It's virtual, right?
Yes, yes.
We were going to talk about this a little under well, we can speak about now. You know, I think I hope you all have had a chance to look at the POCD update. Our section, and I mean, maybe I'm a little bit too protective of it. The open space section is on pages, I think, 58 and 59. I've read it. I hope you have. I find it a good, good summary. I was not planning, unless any of you would like the commission to make any comments on the plan. Please, we can pick that up under new business. And if any commission member has any comments or suggestions on any other section of the plan, please participate in a public hearing on the 28th. But I think we can talk about it a bit later. Barbara, if you would like to, we can talk about it now. You'd like to comment on it if you feel that what your comments are on the draft, the open space section of the POCD.
I have to go through it again. I think we made any corrections we wanted, and they incorporated that into the draft. Yep. Can
Okay.
you hear me?
Yes.
Weird
Yeah.
feedback. Sorry.
No, but thank you. And so I hope Ryan, Sam, Samantha, you will also check out the entire plan, which is lengthy, but our sections are 58 and 59. And if you have any concerns about it, please, you can let me know. And then also please make a comment on the 28th. So that's I think after that, and I was going to discuss it more when we go our open space plan, but after that plan, after the public hearing, I'm going to be part of it. I'm going to participate in the public hearing to hear what others have to say, and especially what they have to say on the open space section. Moving right along, the Open Space Preservation and Acquisition Committee has not met. There is really no update. CTAC did meet. It was a meeting of some of the legislators. Representative Joe Gresko of Stratford gave an update on legislative issues, and the staff at MetroCog also had slides and had a visual of the trail map, the trail map for the region. So that was very interesting. But that was really about it. Sustainable CT and Sustainable Fairfield County. Barbara.
Yeah, no, nothing new on that.
All righty, we're just hustling right along here. As I said on the Cambridge Drive, and it's not Independence. The 64 Cambridge Drive application that was before. Well, it was 64 Cambridge Drive and 4 Independence, and that application was denied without prejudice. On the agenda for next Wednesday's Inland Wetland Commission meeting is a proposal, or going to be presented a proposal for 64 Cambridge Drive, which is a piping system to begin irrigating or hydrating, I believe they would call it, the wetlands. I don't know, Barbara or Brian, or if you have any more information on that.
No, I don't know anything.
I don't.
Okay, but that's definitely a good one a good meeting to listen into. The second item I put down is 390 Monroe Turnpike, and that's a McDonald's, and my understanding is they are asking for another drive-through, to have a double drive-through. Now I don't know if there is concern or not, and I like to know what you feel, on this. If you've looked at the plans, what you think about this application.
So this is Barbara. So, I mean, the only thing I would say about that is I know at some point, and I'm not sure I could even find it again. I remember reading something about another state had said that they were, a city had said that they were um, stopping any second drive-throughs or any new drive-throughs because of the concern of cars idling and the exhaust going into the air, obviously. So, yeah, I mean, that would be my comment, that I would just, I'll be honest and say, I don't think we're going to stop them from doing this, but they're not changing their footprint from what I understand from the plan. But yeah, I mean, you've got maybe double the number of cars that are sitting there idling for a period of time. And I would say that's not a good thing, that they're putting exhaust, extra exhaust into the air, but that would be my only concern at this point from what I've seen of it. And that
Anyone
there's
else?
yeah.
So go ahead, Barbara. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, and that there's another state that has said, I can't remember what it was ages ago I read it, but that, some city had said, they stopped that because of that reason. So, but
Any other thoughts? Ryan, Samantha, any other comments?
I don't have anything.
None for me.
Yeah, I don't. I think that's a very valid comment. My only comment right now is, depending on when you go down 111, there are cars idling right on 111, and in the height of this pandemic, I mean, the state or somebody, or maybe it was the town, actually had to put up a sign, that to turn in, if you are going north on 111, there's a center turn lane to go into like the Village Square Shopping Center. That was then the through travel lane because the right-hand lane was all blocked up by traffic for cars trying to turn right into the McDonald's. Okay, Barbara,
Barbara,
are you proposing that we write a letter to or write comments to P&Z?
I guess we can. I'd be honest and say I don't think they would, pay any attention to it. But I mean, that would be. I could try and find that article I read at some point. I read so much stuff I can't remember where it came from most of the time. But if I could find that, maybe we could submit something. I don't. Again, I'll be honest and say I don't think we have any influence on it. I think this is just going to go ahead. So,
Well, let me mention this.
I'd be interested in this.
Go ahead, Brian. Go ahead.
Does it increase, Barbara? Do you know if that said, does the second drive-through automatically increase traffic, or is it just supposedly get cars through quicker?
It gives the opportunity for more cars to be sitting there idling for an extended period of time, and they said that was their point. The exhaust, more exhaust rather than, you pull in, you stop, you walk in, and I know that's an issue right now, but it won't be in the future, hopefully. And it was their whole point was air pollution from idling cars.
Makes sense.
Yeah, thank you. Might I make this suggestion? If you are willing to look up the article and draft brief comments, and send them. If I will do what I have done before, that is legal, do up a letter to Planning and Zoning, send it around, and if there are no comments, corrections, concerns, I will send it in. If anyone has any concern, or like I say, they question it, then it could not be sent in, and we would have to, discuss it again at our next meeting. But if you're willing to do that, Barbara, that's great.
Yeah, let me see if I can find it. I mean, it would be, potentially for future, changes. Maybe it's something that they would consider. So yeah, I'll definitely try to find that again. It was a long time ago, a couple of years ago probably, but let me see. The internet's a wonderful thing. Nothing ever disappears. So I'll see if I can find it.
Okay, sounds good. Are there any other land use applications that you'd like to discuss this evening? Okay, moving right along to old business. And Kat, our thanks to you again. for helping facilitate and for distributing our first e-news. I know, and my thanks to Ken for approving it, but our little e-news announcement
Oh, you're welcome.
on recycling. What we would like to do, and I sent it to the commission members. Barbara drafted up another one that if you think it's possible, we would like to put out for April 22nd, which is Earth Day.
Okay, cool.
And
Yep, send it along.
it's basically on the pollinator garden, and I'll let Barbara go over it. Planting native plants, but it would be something for the commission and the town to say to its people, Happy Earth Day. And Barbara, why don't you go into it? Because and I to also to Ryan and Samantha, you got to know this. This is thank heaven that Barbara has done this. I think these little quick news news infos are very good. So Barbara, go into it just a little, and then if the group agrees, we'll send it, or I can send it to Kat, or you can send it to Kat for Ken's approval. So Barbara.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's just, I mean, if you know me at all, you know me. I'm a plant nerd, I only think about gardening. That's pretty much it. But so it's really just to try to get people to think more about natives, or understand what natives are, and how important natives are to the environment, and that natives are plants that evolved here versus plants that came from Asia or any other continent, or even much farther away areas of the U.S. And real quick, the difference is that plants that evolved here have insects that evolved with them, and they actually have very close relationships. And there are some insects that actually only live on certain plants, or need certain plants for certain parts of their life cycle. And the one most people would think of, if they know anything about it, is monarchs need milkweed to survive, because the only plant that their caterpillars can actually eat. They can't eat any other plants besides milkweeds, and I think there's 4 different varieties of milkweed in Connecticut. But anyway, so the point of having natives is that it really is much better for the environment it's really essential for the environment to thrive, is to plant native plants. And so that's really what the email is about. And then obviously tying into Earth Day on the 22nd of April. And we did set up the pollinator pathway. If you're not familiar with that, if you got that email with the draft, look at the pollinator pathway. That's our page. That's the Monroe page. And but look at the other parts of that if you're at all interested in plants. There's some really interesting information and very pretty pictures on there to look at. But it's important that we get people to start thinking about what they're putting in there. As we keep developing and everybody has lawns, and we're putting up more buildings and parking lots and all sorts of things, we need to concentrate on what we can put back into our gardens and our environment, is the native plants that should be here, because that's what supports the native insects, which supports it's the whole ecosystem, everything that eats all those insects and so forth. So it's a huge topic, but it's really it's way more important than people realize. So hopefully that will get people to consider it. So, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Well, you are I'm so glad you're a plant nerd. I love it. I think this is great. And I don't think we really need a motion, but I would definitely like to know, Ryan and Samantha, that you support Barbara sending this to Kat and asking the first selectman to approve it and put it out on his email blast either before or on Earth Day, so we can wish the residents of Monroe a happy Earth Day. So Samantha and Ryan, I like to just would be more comfortable if I knew that you supported this.
I do.
I do as well.
Great, but Barb, I think, like I said, I like it. And so, Kat, you'll be getting this. Barbara, do you want to send it over to Kat? Do you want me to send it to her or what?
I'll send it to Kat right after
Is that
the meeting.
okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Kat. The other issue, the item under old business is the open space plan. And I just, these go to meetings are great, but it's kind of not like, you know, sitting down, but face to face. But what I'd like to do, and we do have more work to do as a conservation commission on open space plan, particularly on a management plan, an open space management plan. However, it was my thought that we hold this off for one more meeting until after the public hearing, the POCD public hearing on the 28th. At that time, we will have, if we listen into the hearing, we'll know if there have been any major comments or, you know, if there are any changes to it. And then once I think I don't know how long it will take, but I would assume that if there's a hearings in April, sometime in May, the Planning and Zoning Commission would probably adopt the plan. And then after that, we would then sometime June or December submit to the Planning and Zoning Commission our open space plan and ask the Planning and Zoning Commission to include it as an addendum to their plan. But one of the things that we have yet to do is an open space management plan. So maybe we can keep working on that and actually put that, I'm definitely going to put it on the agenda for the May meeting, an open space plan, and see how we can progress with this. I know I would like to have, and maybe we can have people from Parks and Rec, or at least the Parks and Recreation Commission director be part of a discussion on the management of open space. So anyway, unless anyone has any other, you know, strong desire to talk more about it tonight, or have any action on it, I would just as soon hold off on further discussion until May. So as I would say, hold now or speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay. Any other old business from anyone? Okay. So we're moving right along to new business. We have on there, are there any budget expenditures that should be requested? Just to let you know, and I'm blabbering. I think I've had too much not wine, coffee. We have the current budget we are under expires June 30th. And so I would like to make budget appropriations or send them through to the selectman's office and the board and the finance office for their, you know, consideration and approval at our May meeting. We can do it in June, but those are the last two meetings that we will have the opportunity to spend or encumber, if we have to, monies out of this fiscal year. So please think, we have $200 or $300 left in our budget that we had originally anticipated to use for recycling outreach and education, that we've really, you know, kind of changed track, and maybe I think COVID has probably done part of this work that we're using. We're going to use the email blasts. I think we may consider, since there is more traffic coming into the library now, some sort of display boards. I think we found out, and Barbara, you can add to this, or Ryan, you know, that handouts, people just don't seem to take them, or if they take them, they pitch them. But some sort of information that we can post in the library for people to see on various issues, whether it be the pollinator garden, recycling, or other issues that we're concerned about. So I guess Barbara, Ryan, Samantha, any comments on our budget expenditures?
No, this is Barbara. I really can't think of anything. You know, again, it's just because we were not out there. And I do think that if we send something to people, they're just going to ditch it, unfortunately. So.
You know, I know, Samantha, you mentioned something like magnets. That's a lot of money. I mean, they can be very expensive, and once again, we probably have them at the library for people to pick up, and I don't exactly know whether they would be recycling or what they would be on. But I think this is going to be a priority item that we will discuss in quite a bit of detail at our next meeting. And we'll go from there, because I don't really want to lose the funds. And I think my husband has a Dave Solik update. Oh, no.
It's Dave Solik.
No, he could not call us. Call in. Excuse me. Yes, Dave, I'm in the middle of the meeting. Well, here, I'll send you the agenda again, and hopefully you can get in. Excuse me, guys, I'm sorry. The number is 15, no, okay, never mind. No, I'm sorry. All I can give you right now, Dave, I'm sorry you can't get in. Hold on. Kat, do you have any suggestions for Dave?
He should call the phone number.
He says he doesn't have it. Is it the 1571?
I can read it off to you right now.
Wait, let me read it here. Dave, take this number down.
571
317-3112. Access
and then
code.
right, correct.
135-994-133.
Correct.
Okay. All righty. I'll talk to you. Bye. Bye. Sorry, guys.
Are you guys do you have any plans on going back in person, or are you guys not ready for that yet?
Well, I have to
Want to
say
wait
this.
till you're vaccinated, or everyone's vaccinated, or?
Well, you know what, we talked about, maybe we'll discuss that under new business again. The feeling was that maybe not for you, but for us, it's very convenient to do this over the phone.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fine. You guys can continue. I was just curious.
But we will discuss it again. Let's go through some of this stuff and get over this before Dave, and hopefully Dave Solik will call in. Okay, budget items next meeting. Kind of like we're going to give you that. It's not a drop dead date, but I don't want to really push it till June. So, Barbara, why don't you give us a little bit of an update on the regional efforts to promote the use of native plants?
Okay, I think I mentioned a little bit last week or last month, was that I started chatting with the chair of the Newtown Conservation Commission and the chair of the Trumbull Conservation Commission, and then we got on a call with the Connecticut Native Plant Working Group, which is a whole bunch of really interesting people, including Kim Stoner, who's has a doctorate in entomology and works out of the Connecticut Agricultural Station in New Haven. And there's great interest in doing this. It's kind of surprising that it's not pushed a little bit more. But what a number of us would like to do is to get, all of the towns that we can to really, I guess I would say mandate that the vast majority of plants that are put into commercial developments and municipal plantings, that they are native plants. Again, it's really critical. I don't think people really understand how critical this is. It's for the ecosystem. It really just doesn't work if we put in all these plants from Asia and all over the world, which is a lot of what we see on the landscape plants that come through in these applications through P&Z. So anyways, there is a lot of interest. Everybody thinks it's a great idea. It's, everybody's got a lot of things on their plate, but what I'd like to do is get something, and I'll try to do for the next meeting, and prior to the next meeting, get it out to everybody, is like kind of a proposed a draft of a regulation saying we're not going to say 100% because I know no one's going to do that, but for, again, landscape plans for commercial developments and for anything that the town is doing on town land, that they need to be at least 70% native plants. There's no reason they can't be 100% native plants, but you got to give some leeway. We certainly won't try to say that homeowners have to do this. That's totally up to the homeowner, but to do what they want to do. But that we really need to get, which is why I know in the last few months we've put some sent some letters over to P&Z to say, hey, this application has a landscape plan that has, the last one I think was 84% non-native plants. There's absolutely no reason for that. And the key thing is that they don't support insects. The insects that are native to our area just don't eat the plants that come out of, I keep saying Asia, but that is where a lot of these plants have originated. And it's essential that we have plants that the insects will eat. They're not going to destroy the plants. They will nibble on the plants. But they need them for part of their life cycle. And if we don't have those plants, we don't have those insects. And the insects are what our birds eat. It's what a lot of our small mammals eat. Toads and frogs and everything. It's all part of the ecosystem. So that's really, what we're trying to do is get the towns to understand that they have to go through these landscape plans that the developers are submitting and say to them, you have to have a minimum, this is bare minimum, 70% or a lot more native plants in your landscape plans, so that when we put in these developments and these things get approved, and obviously we're taking out a lot of space that is now not going to be plants and trees and all sorts of things, that what we do have in these developed spaces is going to be very, very beneficial to the insects that we have to have. And again, it's not just the insects, it's the birds that eat those insects and all that stuff, that we have to have that for the environment. And again, I don't know if anybody reads any of this stuff, I read it all the time, but there's a huge decline in insects, and it's really a problem. And so that's the point of the native plant regulation that we're going to try to get in there. And it's really shouldn't be a burden for anybody, because to plant, a native plant versus a non-native plant, it's just a matter of choosing from one list or another. They're readily accessible. More and more nurseries are developing native plants that to be bought. It's a matter of people asking for them. Planter's Choice, which is a big nursery, it's a wholesale nursery that a lot of the landscapers use. They just put in a whole new area devoted to native plants. They said more and more municipalities and developers are asking for native plants for their landscape. So it's not like they're hard to get, and they're hardy. They live here. This is where they develop. So it's just something that we have to do. So that's something that I'm working on. I'll have that definitely for prior to the next meeting. And again, hopefully we can put that through, get Rick Schultz on board and get P&Z on board to make sure that that's done. But obviously it's a big issue, and it's something that we just need to get that. The last one where they were planting, ginkgo tree, which is from China, and all these different plants that were from different areas. It's absolutely just awful. And trees last forever. I mean, trees literally, anything that's planted today, unless somebody decides to cut it down, trees are around for hundreds and hundreds of years. So, they're kind of forever. And what we put in is really important. So we need to put in the things that actually belong here. So that's my rant on native plants.
I love your passion.
I have to tell you that. So let me get to, have I understood you correctly? No, I think I'm definitely game to move it forward. So it would be a planning and zoning regulation, correct?
Yeah, I would want it to be a regulation. I think that's where we're, the people I've talked to, Monroe and Trumbull, and the, again, Connecticut Native Plant Working Group and so forth. Everybody's like, yep, this is a good idea. This is something that we should be doing. And I have not found one regulation. I've been looking at other towns' regulations, and I've not found one that they all encourage it. They're like, native plants are encouraged. Well, that does nothing. We need to say you have to do it, and it's got to be a minimal amount. 70% is minimum amount to support the insects and the the other wildlife that depends on those insects for their for their food. So, but yeah, it would be a regulation that would require, but again, I don't think it's a burden for anybody to do this at all. These things are readily available. They're adapted to the area. This is where they, you know, they require less maintenance. They establish quickly. You know, there's no reason to not to do this.
And would this be a what is this, this group you're with, you know, Trumbull, Newtown, are you going to have a draft regulation that can go to all of the towns? Can be
Yeah,
used
you know,
like a blanket one that's just I say personalized to each community?
everybody's going to have to do their own thing, you know, but I think we're saying the minimum 70%. And I can tell you where the 70% came from. It's not a long story, but there've been studies by this Dr. Doug Ptolemy, who's an entomologist out of the University of Delaware, and he really started this whole thing about why native plants are so important. I could send you links to his stuff. There's some webinars that are really, if you're at all interested, they're really, really interesting. You know, he said bare minimum is 70% because of the amount of insects that are songbirds, like, you know, chickadees and all the birds that are in your backyard that I think most of us like to see and we enjoy seeing and hearing. They require a certain amount of insects to feed to their young. They don't feed their young, you know, the bird seed out of the bird feeders. They feed their young caterpillars and spiders and, you know, all those insects. And if there's not a minimum amount of native plants that these insects can live on, these birds, they just can't live. You know, they cannot support their young. So they basically starve to death if the adults can't get enough insects for them to live in the nest and raise them to a certain point. So yeah, so anyways, we're trying to get something that's basically a certain amount that everybody will say this is how we're going to do it. They may all do it a little bit differently in each town. They may word it a little bit, but we're going to have, you know, something that says, you know, everybody should be doing, you know, should be requiring the commercial developers and the towns to put in at least 70% native plants.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for Barbara? I'm ready for next month. Does anyone have any questions of Barbara? Well, thank you again so much. I love it that you're a plant nerd. I really do. I think it's terrific. And speaking of regulations, the one thing that I really hope we can spend, and I think we've got about 15 more minutes before we turn into pumpkins or Samantha wants to go and do another meeting, is this a Pequannock River buffer regulation. And I called it a Pequannock River buffer, just so you know. And you all got it a draft today, and I hope it will stay a draft. And there's a few little changes that I'd like to make to it. But I called it a Pequannock River buffer because that's what the Planning and Zoning Commission had basically asked for. We would help. They're considering, the Planning and Zoning Commission is considering establishing a Pequannock River buffer, and they would like work from us, input from us, cooperation from us. And looking at most buffers, and there are some buffer regulations. Some are very specific and very lengthy. But the question came up is why just the Pequannock River? And this actually came up. Barbara had done a quick draft, and I had asked for input from Rick Schultz and also from Lois Spence, who is the vice chair of the Inland Wetlands Commission. And I went to Lois because she had been with Barbara and I at workshops in Fairfield, and also I had gone with her 1 or 2 years to the what they call CACIWC, Connecticut Association of Inland Wetlands Commission workshops. And she's the longest serving member on the Inland Wetlands Commission. And she's the one that asked the question, well, why just the Pequannock? So that's why it is a general, buffer, a river buffer regulation that was sent around. I do think that we have there's some changes that I would like to include. But I hope that you've had an opportunity to look at it. The major concern, and one of the reasons for the Pequannock River also, is because Monroe is part of the Pequannock River Watershed Initiative with Monroe, Trumbull, and Bridgeport. And one of the recommendations in the Pequannock River Initiative plan was to widen the buffers to protect the river and the flora and fauna around it. So with that in mind, I throw this out to Barbara, but I throw it out to you, Ryan, and Samantha, to see if you have any comments on it. I will just like to add before we start. When I drafted this up, I thought maybe we would send it to P&Z and Inland Wetlands. My feeling is that we will send it to Rick and ask him to refer it because to the Planning and Zoning Commission Regulations Review Committee, not to the whole commission until they have seen it. And like I said, I had asked Rick and Lois if they wanted to join us this evening. And Rick is just right now he is in the meeting, in the middle of a P&Z meeting. And Lois did send some comments that I think are included in the draft that Barbara had done.
I am here listening.
Oh, you are, Lois.
I am.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. I'm talking about you when you're not here. For
Well,
those of you who are not who don't know her, Lois Spence, as I said, is the vice chairman of the Inland Wetlands Commission. I'm not aging you by saying that you're the longest serving member.
That's quite all right. I'm not quite the oldest though yet, so that's not
No,
bad.
you are not, but you've served on it for many years. And like I said, I remember going to conferences with you and know that you're extremely knowledgeable. And I don't mean to put you on the spot, but do you have any general comments you'd like to make before I turn it over to some of the other commission members?
Well, sure. If you don't mind
Sure. Not at all. Not at all.
Now that the regulation that I got from you didn't mention the Pequannock, it just says required buffers for watercourses. Am I reading a different one than you have?
No, you are reading the same one.
Okay.
And I changed, like I said, the Planning and Zoning Commission had initially wanted a Pequannock River buffer, but in looking at some of the information, and even Barbara, and even your question from yourself, why just the Pequannock? So that is why it should be the title should be required buffers for watercourse regulation, watercourses regulation. Is that what you have?
Yes, ma'am, it certainly is.
And I would love your comments.
It looks very good. I will give you my comments because you know me. On the third paragraph, and you mention your goal is to establish contiguous vegetative riparian areas on either sides. I would say both sides of the watercourses. When I read that the first time, either side means either or to me.
Okay.
And I would say both sides. I'm also since I write regulation too, I'm very specific as to how it reads. The other thing is in the last sentence of that paragraph, landowners should be encouraged to replant, to Barbara's point, native non-invasive trees and shrubs, to insert those couple of words, native and non-invasive. And also I was going to add undergrowth, because I could just imagine somebody planting, oh, I don't know, 12 Bradford pears and 6 burning bushes without anything else. So undergrowth, I was thinking, might be a good addition there.
I'm sorry, how can you, that sounds good. I mean, if you have this, I would like to hear, like everyone to hear it, maybe the tons of, how would you insert undergrowth?
I'm not sure. We usually, on the Wetlands Commission, oh, by the way, I didn't introduce myself. I'm Lois Spence from the Inland Wetlands Commissioner. Sorry for the record. On the Wetlands Commission, we usually recommend that people use, if it's going to be in an upland area, we recommend that they use a conservation seed mix, which has a combination of all kinds of native herbs and shrubs, and it's all in a seed form. So it grows very wild and kind of crazy and just what nature likes to do. So that conservation seed mix is always a good one. If there's if it's in a wetland area, we recommend a wetland seed mix. It's kind of simple, but that's what we do because there's nothing that specific. The seed mix kind of covers all the ground because it's so diverse. So that I don't know how else to state that. Maybe Barb can come up with something. Maybe somebody else has it in their regulations. That's usually the best way to get good regulations, is to steal it from somebody else. So anyway, that was just a comment that I had. The other comment that I had was under your buffer, on the second page, you mentioned a minimum of 100-foot buffer. Now that's a little ambitious. It would be absolutely fabulous if we could have a no-touch zone that's 100 feet away, but it would never happen. And I was thinking that if we could require a 25-foot buffer, a no-touch zone, or a to be completely restored zone, if they have to disturb it in any way, and then add up from there if we can, because the Inland Wetlands Commission only gets a 100-foot review, and that doesn't mean that we can't require any no-touch zone. All we can do is review it, and it's a kind of a touchy situation and very difficult to, because the legislation isn't there to support. And unless we have experts that say the lack of buffer is going to definitely harm the wetlands, we can't really deny it. So, so anyway, I was thinking that you might want to start with a smaller buffer, or determine sizes of buffers by the water course that they're protecting. Certain water courses would require, I would think, more of a buffer. Maybe the quantity of water that flows through them. Maybe, I'm really not sure how I do know that other towns do that. I couldn't tell you which ones, but I do know that I have seen at the CACI conferences actually, that they do have a hierarchy of streams and sizes of buffer that they require. So those are my only comments. I think it looks really
Just
good.
let me, I will let Barbara clarify, but that's great. But the 100-foot came from, we got it from Trumbull.
Do they really require a 100-foot no-touch zone?
Are you equating buffer with no touch?
Well, yes.
I will look as Barbara discusses this with the members. To how a Trumbull. I have Trumbuls. I just have to find it.
Well,
but
the reason I say that is that because you say that the 100-foot from the border of a water course shall remain in a natural condition. Now that the only way to keep it in natural condition is not to allow building or disturbance on it.
Okay, I am looking for this, and I will get back to you as others talk. But let me just turn it over to Barbara. Oh, here I have found what. Oh, geez, Trumbull.
Yeah, I'm looking for it. That was
what,
kind of their intent, was to try the 100 feet. I mean, I guess, I'd like to see what Rick comes back with. But you think that's not going to happen, Lois?
I would love to see that. I would absolutely love it. But I don't think, it's like one of these things, if we ask for too much, I'm afraid that the P&Z Commission will just throw out the baby with the bathwater. Mm-hmm. And if we go too ambitious, it'll just turn everybody off for the whole thing. And that would be the last thing we'd want to have happen. So if we went for a slightly smaller, 25-foot buffer is a lot more than we have in many, many places right now. And if we had that, that would be absolutely fabulous.
Just so you know, Lois, Trumbull has done a kind of little white paper on it. And the heading of this paragraph is, why is Trumbull only, this is interesting, why is Trumbull only protecting 100 feet of buffer? And that's, I'm serious. And they state and they refer to a Stroud Water Research Center study of June 2014. And the results of the whole, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but basically streamside forest buffers of greater than or equal to 30 meters, that's comparable to 98 feet wide, are needed to protect water quality, habitat, and biotic features of streams associated with watersheds. Anyway, that's a good point.
100% in agreement. I'm just afraid that there's going to be a lot of pushback from developers and anybody that's trying to build on property. They don't like to be that restricted. So the P&Z may respond accordingly, depending on what they're hearing from the town too. So this is just, I'm just trying to set up a reality check here.
No, I understand that. And you also said on the Paquonic River Initiative, it's one of the Monroe members. And so you know what they were trying to do, and you know the problems with the Paquonic River and the up in Monroe and in the northern part of Monroe. So anyway, listen, thank you. Please stay. We're going to let you hear what others have to say. I know Barbara had one.
Forward to it.
Okay, Barbara, since you were the author of this terrific draft regulation, your comments, please.
I guess I have a tendency to want to start at the best point and negotiate down rather than start at a lower point. But yeah, I mean, I would like to hear what Rick has to say. I mean, it could be, and I did read a lot, and I can't remember how they phrased it now, but the streams, there's like an order of streams where kind of just starts seeping out of the ground is one, and then it goes into, you know, you keep getting a higher order of streams and so forth. But a lot of what I read a number of things that said the lower order of streams where the water just starts coming out of the ground in some places is actually the best place to start to protect the water. You know, that you do want a really good sized buffer there. Not that you want very little at a larger river, but you know, so I guess maybe 100 feet is a bit ambitious, but I really would love to hear what Rick said, as you said, Karen, because that was what they sent out. Because I know that the Inland Wetlands Commission regulations are already saying that there is the buffer, you know, that the upland review area is 100 feet and at some point it's 150. So I'm curious as to what Rick's point was of trying to put in the buffer. But I did read a number of things that did say that it was, it could vary. You know, it tends to get too complicated then if you try to do too many variables, because who's going to make the call and how many experts do you have to in to make these various distinctions. So a lot of the different things I was reading said just pick a number and use that as your number, because it and maybe, you know, have something in there where, you know, we did write in there, we have the option if there's soils that are more erodible, if there's, you know, very fragile ecosystems, or if there's, you know, if their land use proposition is very hazardous, you know, those are reasons to make the buffer even wider. But that you really should have some minimum amount. But I'd like to go with something more than 25 feet for a minimum. So.
Great. Ryan, any comments from you?
No, I don't have any.
No, I needed your words of wisdom on this. What do you think?
I think it's good. I didn't see much really that jumped out at me that hasn't been already pointed out.
Okay, now and Samantha, and just so you know, Lois, Samantha is our newest member. I think, what is this, your second or third meeting?
Yeah, something like that.
I've never met her in person because they've all been virtual. So your comments, Samantha.
No, I mean, I think overall it's great. You know, I mean, I as someone though who lives on a pond with my house like literally 100 feet away from the pond, like, it would mean I couldn't like use my backyard. So like that's the only thing like I would want to understand a little bit more about what it means, like not actually, like I want to keep it natural. I want to not build anything on it because obviously it's like close to the pond. But I'm just thinking about all these people who live, you know, in these houses that have been that were built like 30, 40, 50 years ago that are like, you know, literally 100 feet away. Like, how does that affect their ability to use their property? And I think that's something that, you know, I just would want to personally understand, but I know a lot of people in town would probably have the same questions.
Well, let me, and I think we'll get this from Rick, and I'm gonna let Barbara. This was, like I said, initially for requested for a river, not a pond, and also was looking at more commercial development, not residential, if I'm not mistaken, Barbara.
Right.
And that's why, you know, I guess water courses might not be, well, anyway, that was the title of it, but it was not, this was not written. And like, yeah, it was not written to have any detrimental effect on, you know, like your personal pond in your backyard that you've had in the homeowner has had it for, you know, 20, 30, 40 years or whatnot. But no, that's a good point of clarification, because I don't want people to be concerned. What we are concerned is that this Pequannock, I believe why the planning and zoning chair had asked for this was because the Pequannock River is part of the watershed, our drinking water watershed, public drinking water watershed. And the concern for what the pollutants that go into that water and how it will, among many other things, affect drinking water. So, Barbara, I'm gonna let you finish.
Okay,
Well,
the only
there
thing
are-
that I was just got that from was just there was the, you know, the definitions of the water courses, and it's basically like anything, any body of water. So like that was like my confusion, I guess. And it did mention, you know, I feel like there was somewhere where it said landowners who currently have lawns that run to the edge of a water course. So just the way it reads, like just sounds like anybody. So like I think maybe it's just maybe a matter of like tweaking the language in some way. That would be all.
That is a good point, Samantha.
Thank you. Yeah.
But that is one of the big problems with a lot of water bodies, ponds, or, you know, is that, and it's been in the news in the last couple of years in particular, where, you know, people, and unfortunately do these, you know, I do the Scots for, you know, season thing where I put down all these chemicals on my lawn, and it runs down into the water bodies, and all of a sudden they have this blue-green algae growing, and it's toxic stuff. It's still pets that go into the waters and so forth. So, I mean, it's a problem. So that is part of it. That I know we can't really tell homeowners to, well, Lois should say, because I think we can tell homeowners to do certain things or not do certain things near the water, but you know, it's like an education thing. People need to understand, if you put, you know, a homeowner puts lawn right down to the edge of the water because, oh, it looks so pretty, and then they start putting all sorts of fertilizers down, and it runs off because a lot of it is just not absorbed into the soil. If your pH is off, I mean, there's a whole big story, but, you know, if your pH is off, it's not absorbed into the plants, into the grass, and it runs off, and then it creates a whole problem with the blue-green algae growing, and eutrophication. With it uses up the oxygen, and, you know, if there's fish in there, it kills the fish and so forth. It's a big problem on Long Island Sound too. You know, so it is an issue with homeowners, but yeah, the point of the regulation was more towards commercial developers and how close they can get to any water course, and especially depending on, you know, what they're using the land for and what might be running off of, maybe, you know, the pervious surface, but also you know, these spills that aren't, you know, that happen because accidents happen, and whatever they might be using, you know, would do their business, that something's going to run off into the water.
You know, you're right, Samantha. I was just reading it right on the front page. It does say, you know, streams, brooks, waterways, lakes, ponds, marsh, swamp, bog, and other bodies. And then it does say public or private. I think that the private, that was it, the intent, and maybe, Barbara, that needs to be cleared up. Maybe that needs to be tweaked in a way, because the intent was for, more commercial, but not that we want homeowners. There are people in town, Samantha, you don't know, who live near, or their property is adjacent to town-owned land that goes into a lake, and they think they own it, even though they don't own it. There's easements, town has easement, and they fertilize all the way up to the lake. But this was our intent for this, and I believe also the Planning and Zoning Commission's intent was for commercial. And they were specific. They initially were only looking at the Pequannock. So
that definition of watercourses is from the Connecticut regulations, state regulations. That particular paragraph I stole from the town of Tolland, though, the way it's worded, but it is Connecticut state regulations, and it's also in the Monroe, because the Monroe Inland Wetlands and Watercourses regulation is basically the state regs.
You agree with that, Lois?
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, you agree with that, Lois?
Yes, I do. That came right out of the regulations, and the regulations went right into our regulation. I mean, the statutes went into our regulations. So yes, all of those things come under the category of watercourses.
Okay. I'm sorry, Samantha, I cut you off.
No, I mean, I was just thinking, like, I mean, obviously if that's a definition, it obviously needs to be that way, I'm just thinking, I think that there's just maybe two separate sets of rules for like landowners versus, I don't know. I am obviously not an expert on this. You guys know way more about this than I do. I'm just thinking like the 25-foot versus the 100-foot. Maybe that's like kind of where that comes into play in commercial, residential, or whatever. I don't really know. I'm just throwing things out there, but I think that when you get people's personal property involved, that's what makes it a tougher sell, right? So I'm just also thinking about trying to get this through. What would make it more palatable as well. That's all I was kind of like thinking about.
No, that's a good point, because all the planning and zoning commissioners are, residents too, and they have their own, concerns and, likes and dislikes and whatnot. Lois, I wanted to ask you, does inland wetland, do inland wetlands reg differentiate between commercial and residential?
No, it's universal. It does not matter what kind of property owner you are. The state says that we regulate the area around all the watercourses.
So that, and
Okay.
I think, Lois, that's a lot of what I see within the wetlands. It seems like a lot of your agendas or part of your agendas tend to be, it looks like to me, homeowners who went too far and did stuff too close to whatever body of water they're near. And
Yes.
now maybe they filled things in and they have to remediate and put in some plantings so that they're creating a buffer, right? I mean, I
Yes,
think I've seen
yes.
that. Yeah.
But it depends on it. Every situation is a little bit different, and so they're all very individualized as we approach them with remediation if it's required, because the statutes do allow for a certain amount of leniency when it comes to homeowners. So, and that was even mentioned in that regulation that you proposed, Barb. So,
right. Yeah, farms and things too, right? It gives them more
farms, and there's also part of that section is for the I forgot the exact wording, but it has something to do with the enjoyment of one's property,
right.
and which is very, very nebulous. So it's like I said, it's a individual thing. So that's why we have to approach it the way we do. But for new development, and that's where I think this regulation can come in the most handy, is for new development, because there isn't anybody that's already there. There isn't any work having been done on a property. If it's already in its natural state, it's easier to require that you keep a section of it in its natural state. But for already developed properties, it would be extremely difficult to try to backtrack.
Right. Right, exactly. There's something that it is in a lot of the literature that's out there, because it's a tremendous amount of information out there. It's crazy. That there are zones, and I didn't put it in here because I was like, it's getting too long and it's getting too complicated. But it could be. And again, I'd like to see what Rick comes back with before we start changing it, because I'd love to go for the better. So yeah, the more strict thing. In fact, there's something that does say, and I think it's the U.S. or the Connecticut Fisheries or something says, when in doubt, go with the more strict application of this. But like where they say there's zones. So maybe we could, as a thought, do the 25 feet from the edge of the whatever water is a real no touch, and then the next 25 up to 50 feet is a something else, and 50 up to 100 is they can have some use of it, something along that line, so that it's not, as to me at this point, not, I know with homeowners this would be something we wouldn't be able to do, but it may be a difficult thing for developers and for PNC to want to hear also, but do it in stages where you have a little bit more access for the first so many feet, and then less access, and then the last 25 feet don't even go near it unless you are going to be removing invasive plants, or there's a hazardous situation that needs to be remediated for some reason.
Wow, really some great comments from everybody, and I truly appreciate your sitting in on this, Lois, and Barbara, for all your work you've done. Samantha, for you, it's some of us, and I certainly am not the one who knows this all. The really knowledgeable people are Lois and Barbara and Ryan, who won't say he is, but he is. And it's not me, but you bring some very valuable insights into our discussion. I agree with you, Barbara, that we should probably wait for comments from Rick. I don't know. I believe that the Planning and Zoning Reg Subcommittee wanted to discuss it this month, but how about if after we get comments from Rick, if you will reduce something, Barbara, based on Rick's comments and what you've heard tonight, and it's going to stay a draft. This is not going to be, I was hoping we could vote on it, but I think we better wait until we have more comments. Then we will send it on. I will communicate. I will try to reach Rick, tomorrow, but we will send it over to the Regs Review Committee as a draft, but an approved draft, but not, certainly not final. And I think we would be open for discussion. And that's, Lois, you're going to hear it from me too. I agree with Barbara. I'd rather go for the 100, and then if they balk, go down. But you didn't. You didn't hear me say that, but that's my opinion.
It's not being recorded or anything, Karen, so it's okay.
Oh, it's only recorded. That's right. It's there. So, okay. Is that agreeable to everyone that we wait to see Rick's comments? And there are, a couple, cleanups that need to be done. I think, Lois had some good comments about, native and non-invasive plants, and both as opposed to either, and, or other comments. And we had a couple other changes that we wanted to make, not changes, but a little clarification even under the last, the second page on the very bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatnot, just a little clarification of the wording that went on to 8. So we'll do that. We'll send it around, and I would just like to keep this discussion going. That's my goal on this, to keep it going with the Regs Review Committee. And so as soon as we can get them something, I would like to forward it to them, and we'll keep, the commission, we will definitely have it on our agenda for next meeting. But Barbara, if you don't mind, redoing it once we get, additional, if we have any additional comments, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you all. Now, if there's anything else on the buffer regulation, if not, we're going to move on.
Actually, Karen, can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Barb, do you have an approved plant list that you would like to see? On wetlands, we do require native plantings whenever we can. And, but many times people say, well, I don't know what to plant. And sometimes they're homeowners doing remediation, and they don't necessarily, we don't want to send them to a landscape architect or somebody that's going to cost them a fortune. So if we had an approved plant list, that would be good for, that we could hand them and say, here, this is what we will allow. And that would be a really helpful thing for us to have. So if you happen to have that, you can forward it to me. That would be ideal.
Yes. Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, I will.
That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lois. Thank you. You are welcome anytime. Our meetings are not quite as exciting as yours, but we loved having you.
Be happy about that.
Yes, yes, I am. I know. All righty. One other thing we have under new businesses, and I know Dave Solik was on, is a Tree City USA. It's not really a sponsorship. I kind of misunderstood Barbara. But first, I'm going to turn this over to Barbara, who looked at the application, then turn it over to Dave for for his actual request. So, Barbara, did you want to comment on the application?
Well, I think that, well, without getting too much into it, the Monroe Land Trust has been the tree board for this application, is my understanding. I'll let Dave make sure that that's correct. But there's without getting too into it, because I can't at the moment, but the Monroe Land Trust is talking with another land trust about possible merger, and I think that's going to happen, but maybe later in the year. And which is the way a lot of land trusts are going. It's very difficult for a small land trust to exist. So a lot of land trusts are trying to group together, be more regional. So that's hopefully the direction we're going, because I'm secretary of the Monroe Land Trust. And so I think Dave had asked if the Conservation and Water Resources Commission would be the one who would kind of become the tree board, not really, again, sponsor, but whatever you want to call that, on the application. And it would require that the names are on there, so the chairperson and then the other members of the tree board or the Conservation Commission would also be listed on the application. So I think that's the request from Dave. And it's certainly a great thing. I mean, to be the Tree City USA is not something that every town has. So it does mean that there's a lot of effort put into keeping Monroe well treed and that they're maintained well, and we give more thought to our trees than just letting them grow. So is Dave on, or?
I should be.
I believe he is. Dave, if you would like to add to Barbara's comments.
Karen, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Some little technical difficulties. I'm sorry, and thank you, Karen, for that. Pretty much what Barbara has said is literally it'd be a change of names. The application has been done for Tree City USA by me and my wife, and me being the tree warden, organizing different activities. Every year they request to have an Arbor Day celebration, which has been easy. With COVID, it's been rather difficult, and last year it was canceled because you can't have groups together. What Barbara had mentioned is basically with the Land Trust Tree Conservancy merging, the board would no longer be viable anymore. So it would just be changing names as president, treasurer, president, vice president, secretary, and things like that, which the last time was just 4 names were put on. And I don't think, Barbara, you were even contacted by Tree City USA, correct?
Yeah, no, we haven't ever been contacted, but
I guess they trusted me as a tree warden. And the only other real, if you will, is getting an application, not an application, I can't think of it, I'm sorry, a proclamation from the selectmen, which Kat would be obviously listening, which I'm going to be obviously trying to get that in the future. We're still trying to decide on a tree. And Karen, I did send to you and a couple other people different trees that they were looking at. And so hopefully I will get an answer hopefully by Friday and can move this project right along. If not, I have a plan B, which will be around a town hall, small ceremony to meet our obligations for Arbor Day. And that's pretty much.
We did get that, and I believe it was announced during correspondence, and I believe it went. I thought you sent it to everyone on the Conservation Commission. The pictures of the trees that you were considering.
That
for
is
Stephanie
correct.
Green.
What the Save Our Stephanie was going to consider to plant. And they really wanted to get a fringe tree because it's native Northeast tree, but they can't find it. The second one was a dogwood, possibly a pink dogwood, if fringe trees weren't available. Again, I am pressing, like Barbara had mentioned before, for native plantings, native trees, but also short growing trees. One of the problems we've had recently, obviously, is a lot of winds and such, is preventing the wrong tree in the wrong spot from taking down power lines. And by having shorter growing trees, and that's a whole long thing that I'm not going to go into now, it kept near the roadside for roadside beauty. We do have a lot of native flowering trees. You don't see them in the woods. And most recently, I went down to Virginia, Family Matter, and I was like, oh my gosh, look at all these red buds and serviceberries in the woods just blooming all over the place. And it's really beautiful. So that understory is very, very important.
Okay. I did let Dave know. I think I would like comments from. I know Barbara's in favor of this. My only concern had been is we still are down. We only have 4 of our 7 members, and I certainly didn't want to increase the workload on any of the other members. Barbara and everyone, is Samantha has just volunteered to cover a couple more boards and commissions in addition to meetings, and Ryan and Barbara has been extremely busy. The time commitment, but I would like the feelings from others about whether we put the Conservation Commission down as the tree board for the town. And if you only need 4 names, that's all we got. So let me turn over to Ryan.
Perfect.
Sorry, I'm still having trouble on my thing. So you broke up there on my end. Could you just say the full question again? I apologize.
Oh, I just wanted to know your comments and if you were supportive of the Conservation Commission being listed as, I believe it's called the tree board, for the on any future Tree City USA,
Sure.
which would be for Tree City USA application.
Yeah, I think that makes the most sense. I'm agreeable with that.
Samantha, how about you?
No, I agree with that.
I don't really think we need a motion. If you'd like one, Dave, I can, if you have to, I don't know exactly what the logistics are for this application or how the process that has to be followed, but if you need a motion, I'll ask for one.
No, I think just the few people have said, we are in for it, we're good, we'll put it as names. Right now, it's just a movement towards the application really has been, as I mentioned, has been done by me and my wife. All the research, in other words, getting figures to put together, getting the selectmen to get a proclamation, putting together a ceremony has been done by me. Maybe in time, as the commission feels comfortable, they might want to take a handoff on that. And my thing is, when I'm no longer tree warden, let's just say in the future, the next person hopefully will continue this program. By the way, I don't know if people realize that we've been a Tree City USA for 17 years. So my thing is, we're trying to get the signage out. And if you want to go by the Stephanie Green, thanks to Joel Lineker, we finally got a flag put up there, and you will see the Tree City USA flag. It's been rather difficult because people say, oh no, you're not putting up on this flagpole and that. But it's finally up there and it's flying, and it's great to see. And hopefully, as people enter the town through the main roads, 111, 25, 59, and 110, we will get signs up that say, welcome to Tree City USA, and the number of years that we've been there.
Thank you, Dave. And now Kat, Kat's not going to ever believe me again when I said this isn't going to be a long meeting. She's had an exhausted long day. We've got 4 minutes before she turns into a pumpkin. It's 8 o'clock is the deadline. So I do have the agenda items. Please add anything else. We know we're going to talk about the POCD, the update and the public information session, public comment session, our open space plan, 64 Cambridge Drive. I can't read my writing here. The regional native plants, and also our budget items. Is there anything else we need to put on the agenda for the May 13th meeting? If not, I'll ask for any other new business and then a motion to adjourn. Any new business?
Karen, if I might ask Barbara, could you send me an email with your phone number? We'll take it offline. I'll call you tomorrow about trees, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure, absolutely. Yep.
Thank you. And thank you all.
Thank you. Do I have a motion? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Okay, it's Barbara. I have a motion to adjourn.
Second?
That was Ryan. I'll second it,
Ryan.
Ryan.
Okay, let's go
Alrighty.
down. You agree with this, Barbara? To adjourn?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yeah.
Samantha?
Yes.
And myself? And are you ready for this? It's 7:57. This meeting is adjourned. My thanks to Kat and all of you for participating.